loves that bio, but it's way too long. I just want to acknowledge that you're getting the understudy today. You were expecting to see Governor Healy, and unfortunately we've had an awful tragedy in the city of Gloucester, losing the Lily Jean Vessel, and she was really pulled there to have to work there with families and obviously comfort the community. But I feel really fortunate because my mom, coming from Trinidad, born in Grenada, still from Van. You had me right there. And I happen to be in Worcester because we're also celebrating the 250th anniversary of American democracy and independence this year. And the Knox Trail, General Knox, was part of this revolutionary history, left from Fort Ticonderoga, New York, and drove cannons and ammunitions totaling over a ton all the way from New York to Dorchester in 1776. So there's a commemoration of that stop of communities along the way. There's a parade here of horse carrying cannons and ammunition, and so we were celebrating that history. This is a long planned event, so it's like serendipity that I was able to come by today to really thank Celia and the incredible group of women, and the powerhouse women, I should say, heading up the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition. I mean, 10-year anniversary, and I think I can say, you know, a decade of service, of commitment, of growing the pipeline, of helping each other, of supporting each other is nothing to just pass over. And so I want to say with gratitude, I'm really grateful to be here. And I know I wouldn't be where I am without a lot of people in this room and many others who have stood up and taken those early steps. I'm in Salem now. I didn't grow up in Salem, as you probably heard. I'm a Navy brat, lived in a lot of places. And I was the first woman mayor of Salem. And I remember during that campaign, so many people bringing up the fact that, is Salem ready for a woman? I don't know if this is going to work out. Like, you know, maybe you got all the skills and qualifications. And all it takes is one person to get elected and take on that role. That conversation never happens again. And many of you in this room were that one person in your various roles. So thank you.
Yes.
And the individuals that you're honoring today just bear such special witness. I think we're so lucky. I just met Dr. Castile and the work she's done, a real healthcare champion, you know, at a time when we're seeing the federal government really pull back on what we think about when it comes to public health and vaccines and believing in science and research. And to know on the ground locally, we've had such commitment. We're so fortunate in Massachusetts, like to have an amazing and brilliant healthcare leader right here from this region. That we're able to honor and recognize and celebrate the outstanding care and commitment to the community. And really, when it comes down to public health, it is local that really matters. Obviously, we want to try and make sure we've got the resources. But I want to congratulate Dr. Castile, Dr. Sonia Dinal. We were just together not too long ago when I was in Springfield for MLK Day. The Springfield superintendent, really doing amazing work, and a strong partner to all the work we're doing at the state to try and support education. So thank you so much for the work you're doing. You know, we are number one in so many things in Massachusetts. We're number one state for healthcare, quality healthcare and access, the number one state for education.
That's right.
The number one state for the innovation economy. But we are not number one for everyone. And I really do think it's important that we point that out. While we brag about that and beat our chest, and it's not nothing to shake your head at, we'd always rather be number one. We've got big equity gaps in healthcare, in innovation economy and economic mobility, and certainly in education. And I'm really proud to work alongside Governor Healy to not just talk about that, but to invest real dollars in that. That's things like high dosage tutoring and early literacy programs that are evidence-based, and pushing the needle to ensure we have a uniform high school graduation standard. And we're going to need your help on that, because when we took the MCAS scores away, the testing away, you know, MCAS wasn't perfect, but we now have an opportunity to have a uniform standard for every high school graduate in the Commonwealth. And we need to make sure it is uniform, so the kids in Springfield have the same access to quality care as the kids in Cambridge and Marblehead and Swampscott and every community. We want it to be uniform, we want there to be rigor, we want to give our students the best possible outcome for success in life. And we're poised to make the investments at the state of the Commonwealth. We talked about 100,000 students in early college, 100,000 students in apprenticeship and opportunities, and ensuring that we're making the ability for students to be their best self, going to college for free in this Commonwealth, at any community college in the Commonwealth, and making public higher ed much reduced and free if you're a lower income family. You know, I'm a public higher ed graduate, And when I went to Salem State, you could hustle all summer and make your tuition and fees. You know, you could paint. I painted houses. I worked basketball camps. I was a terrible waitress, and yet I still could put together enough resources to help pay for college. Like, those days are long gone. And in this state, we stepped up to the plate and said, if you have a fire in your belly and the acumen to go to college, we should be able to get you there and not come out with hundreds of thousands of debt. So we have put lots of dollars to help make that more easy, make that more accessible to more students, particularly students who have been marginalized, students of color who may not have the resources to get there. And why are we doing that? Because the students who go to our public higher ed institutions, they stay in Massachusetts. 75% of the graduates, teachers, nurses, entrepreneur, business leaders. We want to support that effort and that pipeline as we move forward in a state that relies on talent. You know, Massachusetts is a great place to live. I can't imagine raising my family anyplace else. You mentioned some of the leaders that you're recognizing here today, the scholarship funds, the doors you're opening up, this organization is doing. I can't say enough for how that really matters, and I think that's really a strength that we have in this state, this idea of collective action, of coming together. Education is a community mission. We need everybody involved in that. You don't send your kids to school and say, go on, educate. We have work to do to fill in all of those gaps, whether it's after-school programs or summer courses or early college, or ensuring that we're all doing our part to prepare this next generation to grow up in a world that is much different than the one many of us may have graduated in high school.
Absolutely.
So we're all in on ensuring that we think about how do we raise the talent that we need to support a strong economy here? How do we support the talent that we have to ensure we have a high quality of life? We don't have oil bubbling up from the ground. We're not mining for precious metals in Massachusetts. Our strength as an economy is talent. The smartest talent of any state in the country. Most adults with college degrees of any state in the country. Highest innovation economy in terms of talent and workforce driving hard problems. We're the leader when it comes to things like life sciences and healthcare. 18 of the 20 top life sciences companies are in Massachusetts. 6,000 clinical trials happen in this state every single day, competing and delivering life-saving drug treatments and therapies. If you've got a hard problem, like a really hard problem to solve, you come to Massachusetts because we're the people that make the impossible possible. And we do it by coming together. This idea of collective action, that we're a state that is rich in resources. How do we ensure that we're putting those dollars and investments in places that matter? And when you put 2 women in charge in the corner office, just saying, that's when you add 20,000 new early education seats. That's when you put money down for making vaccines available. That's when we talk about when the federal government takes SNAP away, we lean in and add money to programs that ensure that people have those basics of food and housing and infrastructure. So I just want to say all of that work only happens because we collectively come together. I truly believe in this idea that we put the smartest people around the room with an idea that none of us are as smart as all of us. There isn't any problem that we can't tackle. And we've really worked hard to listen, to be good listeners, and to understand what can we do together to move the needle on areas like housing. I got to tell you, this is both a source of opportunity, inspiration, and sometimes a source of frustration. We have so many opportunities to have more people stay in Massachusetts who are leaving right now, mainly because they can't afford to live here. A lot of that is tied to housing. We know what the problem is. We haven't built enough housing, and this goes back decades. If you live in any community, that is trying to look at putting new housing up, it's hard to do that. Lots of people aren't supportive of it. Not here, not there, not over there. I don't like the way it looks. We don't like this. And that is holding us back. Right now, the top folks who are migrating out of Massachusetts are 26 to 35. Who's 26 to 35? Who's under 35? Let me put that up there, okay? I want you all to stay here. I want you to be able to buy a home here. And I need to be able to say to all of us who are the over 35, we've got to do our part to help that happen. Because we know how to cure this problem. Like, we're not trying to cure cancer to help the housing crisis here. We know what we have to do. We've got to build more homes. When demand is great and supply is small, that's what drives up costs. And we've got community leaders who are stepping up. We're talking a lot about housing. We've passed laws. This administration passed the biggest investment in housing that we ever have in our state's history. $5.2 billion of housing investment to make sure we have housing in communities. So if you look at the folks who are under 35, I want them here. I want them to stay here. I want them to raise their families here. I want them to take part in all the things that we're doing to make this Commonwealth great, and frankly, that they are going to be leading. They can only do that if they have the opportunity. And that is on the rest of us to make sure we're creating a pathway to build the type of housing that we need in the communities that we know we have capacity to do this in. I also want to say the average age of the first-time homebuyers in Massachusetts is just at a high point of 40 years old. Yeah. Most people want to buy their first home, late 20s, early 30s, you start to settle down and know where you want to live and maybe raise a family. This is all due to the pricing and, frankly, too many people in communities saying no when it comes to housing. So this is a perfect area where we need your help. Because when we get together locally and say, how about if we put the housing over here? How about if we make it a little bit more dense? How about if we focus on state-owned land, which we are, or transit-oriented development, or smart growth zoning principles, we can build the housing we need, not only to serve the youngins that we want to stay here, but 20% of our population is over the age of 60. And, we're all living longer. I think that's a good thing, personally.
So I'll take people in another
But you need a different type of housing when you're 60, 70, and 80 than you do when you're 20, 30, and 40. Maybe you don't want to shovel. Maybe you want things on one floor. Maybe you want to stay in the community that you love, but there isn't that type of housing we move into. So we've got to think about this as an opportunity for us to come together, to help salute and celebrate the young people who want to stay here, who are driving so much of the innovation and the opportunity, and also to help us as older adults. I'm putting me in that category. Yeah, all right. Who want to age here in place with dignity and respect. And we can do this when we come together and when we have leadership that says, let's make the investment, let's partner. And that's what I think about this coalition. Women coming together to help women. We are a state and administration that is, instead of backing away the federal government is for things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are leaning in. And we do that because we know outcomes are better when we have more diverse voices around the table. That's just not me, and that's just not Maureen saying that. That is research proven. Whether you're talking about a C-suite decision, or a state house, or Lord knows, the White House could benefit from more women being in charge. So what I want to say to you on this 10th anniversary is, one, thank you in gratitude for what you are doing and what you continue to do to uplift and empower women throughout Massachusetts to ensure that they have a shoulder they can tap on or some blocking and tackling to help do the work. And I also want to say, keep it up. Because in the face of all of this division and acrimony coming out of Washington, I really believe what you all are doing and what we're trying to achieve here in Massachusetts, we're the antidote. We're the antidote to the worst of it. There's a whole lot of people in Washington who want you to believe people coming together, people working across sectors, government helping support what's happening in communities, helping support moving the needle in areas that we really care about. That doesn't work, right? Get government out of the way. I say no. We're the ones who are investing in the foundations that lead to outcomes, that can drive a strong economy and drive higher quality of life and help ensure that we're doing what I think most people want us to do, paving the way for the next generation to do better than the last. And we're going to continue to stick to our guns in our discipline here. Just last week, we announced new protections in Massachusetts to protect our immigrant families. Your daughter of an immigrant, first-generation family, super important. Tearing families apart. We've got students who aren't going to school, people who aren't going to worship at a time more than ever that you need that. Courthouses, whether you are the victim of a crime or someone who is going to support the victim of a crime, not showing up because you're afraid you're going to get picked up from ICE. And by the way, that was the standard all along. You could go to a hospital, go to a church, go to a school, go to your courthouse appointment for whatever it was, and ICE was not going to be in those places. Those were sensitive areas. That's not where they're going to enforce any of their laws. That has all changed. All the rules are thrown out. No due process, no warrants. You've seen the videos. I don't have to say more about that. And in Massachusetts, we're standing up nation-leading legislation to protect immigrant families. And we are sad that we have to do it, but just like 250 years ago, Massachusetts led the way. So I'll close with this. It is a pretty big milestone, this semi-quincentennial 250th anniversary of American democracy. And it hasn't been a perfect 250 years. People in this room certainly know that. And lived experiences today are still very challenging in many respects. But 250 years ago, there were people on a green in Lexington and a bridge in Concord. And they didn't know what it was going to lead to. They knew that they didn't want to be a subject of a king or a monarch. They knew that they believed in this idea of self-governance, fundamental freedoms and principles. They didn't know where it would land or how it would end, but they were willing to risk life and limb against the greatest theory and known to mankind at the time. And this idea that we believe in each other and our ability to form that more perfect union. Now, it's still an experiment, and it is not perfect, and plenty of people here know that. But I will say this, 250 years later, I'm not just going to let it go away. And that's what's happening out of Washington right now. Folks who are turning their back on democratic principles and fundamental freedoms, and who are not making this about, frankly, red or blue issues. These are American values. And when I was growing up, I'm one of 4 daughters, 4 girls. God bless my father. 1 bathroom, you never saw him. We said our prayers every night, kneel down right at the bedside, and did your round of your Our Fathers, your Hail Marys, and all of that, and God bless everybody in the family that we wanted to. My mother would always end and say, I want you all to be grateful that you were born in this country. Because she wasn't born in this country, and I think she knew there were opportunities here, and that doors would open more than they may have where she was from. I still think that is true today, but we got to fight for it, just like those folks did 250 years ago. And I think in Massachusetts, we've shown we're going to fight for it. When we lead, other people follow, just like they did 250 years ago. So as imperfect as it is our opportunity to once again come together to show what we can do as a beacon. We'll be the backstop for the worst of it, the beacon for the best of it. And it's because of the people in this room, and frankly many more, who recognize when we come together, have collective action, go harder after a goal, there's no place better that can do it than this state. So congratulations for your help and your partnership in this, and keep it up, because we need you.